Today is Juneteenth, which is a national holiday commemorating the end of slavery in the U.S., the day the last slaves were freed after the Civil War. And it always makes me think of something I learned when I went to the African American History Museum in D.C., which is an incredible museum, and you should definitely go anytime you get a chance or make the opportunity. And of course, it goes through a lot of history. But one thing I learned there that I found so incredible in the 1960s, when there was still tons of segregation and oppression and racism, and black people started doing what are called sit-ins. There was like whites-only diners or areas of diners of restaurants that were whites only, and they would go sit at the lunch counter. They'd get yelled at, hit, abused, all that stuff, often arrested. But they did this because they believed it was a way to see the change that they wanted to. And it actually started in Greensboro, North Carolina. That was the first one. Four black guys sat at a counter in a Woolworths, and then that movement kind of spread. And what I learned from this exhibit at the African American History Museum is that they would train for these sit-ins. They'd get in groups, and the people who were planning to go do a sit-in would be, abused by their friends or whatever. But I'm sure the acting was really realistic. So they'd be verbally abused, spit on, have cigarettes blown in their faces, knocked down, kicked, punched. They trained to stay as calm as possible, not show any reaction, because especially in this society, any reaction would allow people to look at them as the problem. They practiced a cover position. If they got knocked down and getting hit, they practiced a cover position to protect themselves, because they knew they weren't going to fight back. And when I read this in this exhibit, I was just blown away by two things. One is I was like, oh, this is how we would train. Except they were really doing it, and they knew they were going into this hostile environment, and they knew they were going to get hurt and abused, and also they knew they couldn't defend themselves. So it's even more intense and even more courageous. I think about that all the time. Krav Maga, it was the same thing. Krav Maga was a way for an oppressed people to protect themselves, and I think that's still where Krav Maga belongs, wherever those people are. And so however you want to, recognize the significance of today, and also, that there is a long history of fights for civil rights that does not end. And I think if you do Krav Maga and you think Krav Maga is important because of what it represents, then we want to reflect and be on the side of, anybody that needs to protect themselves against oppression. I hope at least you found that interesting. I'm not the one here to change people's lives over it, but I hope you found it interesting. And anytime you're in D.C., go visit that African American History Museum. And otherwise, it's a day off. It's a national holiday. I hope you got something fun. Always remember that rights are hard-earned, and unfortunately, they are not guaranteed.